Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. Thank you for joining me today on E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on the show, is Deion's recruiting style going to work long term? The haves and the have nots in college football continue to widen. Did Peacock's investment work? And does McDonald's have a new breakfast item? We'll get into all of that later in the show. But first, I want to get into this and talk a little bit of gambling. No, maybe the gambling, maybe not the gambling you're thinking about. It's Shohei Ohtani's gambling, or lack thereof gambling, maybe not. I mean, when you look at the story, read all the different reports, there is so much out there now that we are not going to know. I don't think we're ever going to find and hear all the answers of what truly went down, because I'm having a hard time believing some of the reports that are coming out with both Shohei and his interpreter. I mean, like I said, there's so many questions we're not going to find the answers to. Like, example one, did Shohei bet? And is he connected? And what's his connection with the bookie? Now, he said in his press conference, as you see, I did air quotes there. If you're watching this as opposed to just listening to it, it wasn't really a press conference to me. It was a written statement he read, and then he didn't answer any questions on. It was a read statement translated in 12 minutes, and then he was gone out the door, didn't answer any questions. Not a press conference to me, a written statement. He said he didn't do them. Well, I mean, of course he's going to say he didn't do them. I mean, he's the biggest star. Why he wouldn't just come out and say, "Oh yeah, I gambled." Yeah, of course. So comes out and says that. I mean, still doesn't answer anything. Okay, another question I have with this bookie. Why would a bookie allow a $4.5 million debt when he knows someone like his interpreter is making around 300 to 500,000? I don't know that maybe a bookie would allow that, but that seems to be a pretty high debt for someone only making 300 to 500,000 to be an interpreter. Now, a thought: if Shohei didn't gamble, the bookie's thought was, okay, he's connected to Shohei Ohtani. He's got a relationship with him, a friendship with him. Who knows what he told this bookie? But the bookie was thinking, okay, I'm going to get my money eventually, whether it's from Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, Ippy, or I'm going to get Shohei to pay me. It could be one or the other, or that might have been his thought process. Or, like I was saying, his interpreter might have dropped Shohei's name as a possibility. Like, hey, I'm tight. Me and Shohei were boys. And they were. Shohei and Ippy were boys. Or there's a possibility of he was actually the middleman for Shohei Ohtani and the bookie. All that we still don't know. I don't think we will truly know that. The bookie knew at the end of the day, at the very least, Shohei could potentially cover the debts. And he did. Of course, Shohei ended up wiring the money to cover the debts. Then he later came out and said it was stolen. And he didn't know anything about it, that his interpreter Ippy sent him that money, sent the money back. So once again, what happened to it? Where'd it go? Too many questions, not any answers. Another thing, and there's one report that story's been flopped and kind of changed now. Why did his former interpreter have access to his bank account, huh? I mean, is it normal for a foreign player and his interpreter to manage his finances, manage his bank account, and all that? I would think if he does any of this management-wise, it would be his team around him, i.e., his agency and his financial team with his agency, not his interpreter. Yes, interpreter might have been in the meetings, in the conversations to translate for him, but I don't think he would have access to it. If he was the case, why would you allow access to a friend? I mean, I've got some good friends and I don't give them access to my bank account. To me, that seems crazy. If this report is true, that he did give him access, once again, that story's been changed as well. He initially had access, and he was slowly but surely giving out $500,000 of Shohei's money to pay his gambling debts. Well, then it was changed to this guy, Ippo, is a thief. Another thing that makes me scratch my head is, how do you not realize $4.5 million is missing from your account? I'm no millionaire. Hopefully one day I become a millionaire, and I don't realize that $4.5 million disappears from my account. I hope I'm that fortunate one day. Yes, he's making $87 million this year. Granted, only $2 million from his salary because of all his deferred money, but the rest coming from endorsements. Still, it's not like it's a couple $100,000 disappearing and not there for a credit card bill, or I would say payment on a house, but he probably doesn't have to worry about that. He'd pay that all cash up front. His car, all cash up front. His second home, all cash up front. I'm sure he doesn't have any bills coming out. So that's all taken care of from the cash front of paying that house bill, paying that car payment. That's done. That's taken care of. So I would think you would notice the bills coming out of your account of, wow, where's this money going, huh? But we don't know. And then, like I said, why, like, the changing of the stories with Ippo and Shohei about what happened to that money? I mean, another question I have, I mean, do you really believe Shohei only found out about the gambling debt in a Dodgers team meeting? That seems pretty questionable and suspect to me as well. I mean, also, like, how is this possible if the other report is him and Shohei are really close? His only friend basically in America coming over to handle all his finance, the close relationship, that he has with his former interpreter, Ippo. I hope I'm saying that name right. If they're best friends, don't you think that he might tell Shohei, hey, I'm in a little bit of trouble here. I've got some issues. If Ippo actually did build up that debt, hey, I'm in trouble. I need some help. Here's the deal. They're best friends, I'm told. He gave his best friend his bank account information. We're told. And then it's changed. Wouldn't you think they would know that? I do. I do. Like, you're best friends, right? You're interpreting, you're translating everything for him. You're with him a lot. A lot. And that's just another thing that makes me scratch my head. And I feel like we're not going to get any of these questions answered. Shohei's not going to answer them. He's going to move on to baseball now. That's basically what I've gotten. You know what? He said his statement, his quote unquote press conference. He didn't field any questions. That would have been the time to potentially try to field questions and answer questions, but he moved on straight to baseball. To me, now he's going to get questions all year about it. They don't, especially since he's not pitching, he's only hitting this year. He's going to get questions all year about this gambling until he actually addresses them. He might not answer them. He's probably going to get tired of the questions, but he's going to get them until he addresses them. Now, Major League Baseball and the IRS are now involved in the investigation, or have started an investigation with this. I don't think Major League Baseball is going to try very hard to get to the bottom of what actually happened for this. Why? Two reasons to me, really. A, it's Shohei Ohtani. In the discussion, Shohei Ohtani, what he brings to baseball, the marketing factor, the 40 homers, the pitching, the modern day Babe Ruth, superstar, very marketable, in a sport that is battling with the NFL and the NBA to be the top sport. All right, let me phrase that. The second sport, basically battling with the NBA to be the second sport in all the world. You got a marketable star like Shohei Ohtani. How deep dive of an investigation is it really going to be? Second, easy one. Robert Manfred. What a joke he is. Some of the moves he's done. Some of the questionable calls that Robert Manfred has done. Some of the new rules. Moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta. And then 2 years later, it's going to be back. We knew it was coming back, but we know why he moved it the first place. Bunch of jokes in that front office, in that commissioner's office, mainly by Robert Manfred. Why would he do a hardcore deep dive investigation? Now, the IRS investigation could be a little bit more interesting to me. Are they actually going to interview the bookie and do a dive on the bookie, who's, of course, it's illegal, what he does, the illegal wire transfers and all that? Will Ippy actually talk? Or will he be quiet and potentially take a payoff from Shohei? I mean, that's a lot of questions. I'm more interested in what the IRS discovers than what Major League Baseball would actually do. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. A lot of questions for very little answers, sadly, if you ask me. Now, The haves and the have-nots in college football is growing tremendously. The gap between the SEC, Big Ten, and everyone else is only going to continue to grow even farther. And then that's the revenue splits for the new terrible 16 team college football playoff beginning in 2026. So the SEC is going to get 29%. The Big Ten is going to also get 29% of the overall total revenue, which is $21 million per school. The ACC is getting 17%, so that'll be $13 million per school. The Big 12 is getting 15%. That'll be $12 million per school. Notre Dame is will get 15% as well. So $12 million per year for them. And then the group of 5 is getting 9%, which is $1.8 million. Now, to me, it's a few things. It's significant. It's the ACC and the Big 12 like fighting for scraps. So I'm guessing that's why they agreed to this. They're trying to get whatever they can to try to somewhat be competitive. And I don't like this split because I wish there was more balance. I do. I understand why that is the case with the SEC and the Big Ten controlling everything, but I really do wish it was a more balanced split. But the money being divided up like this, of course, you're going to have a big effect on all aspects of the athletic departments for these schools. And I think it has a big effect with recruiting and the way recruiting is going and will only continue to grow and get more expensive for these schools. So recruiting cost has increased 24% from last year as a whole recruiting cost of the whole athletic budget. Football recruiting has increased 32%. Football recruiting 32%. Total football expenses for the athletic budget has increased 13%. Total athletic expenses has increased 13%. To me, all this makes a lot of sense, especially since there's going to be 2 recruiting periods now. There's a transfer portal recruiting time now that and then the high school recruiting period since they've moved the recruiting calendar up for high schools. So that's why I think it's only going to go up, because before you have to diverse some of your resources to transfer, some of your resources to high school, since they were in that same window. Now they're different time periods, so more resources to disperse. As 20% of rosters are made up of transfers now. 20%. So you have to obviously spend time and invest in that realm. Now, when it comes to spending money and football operations, 24 of the 30 schools with the highest football operation expenses are in the SEC and the Big Ten. The only schools in the top 30 that aren't are Florida State, which is at 2, Clemson's at 8, Utah's at 19, Arizona State 22, UNC at 25, and Texas Tech is at 27. Also at 31 is Kentucky. So I did top 30, but 31 also receiving votes is Kentucky. So by them, I mean the Big Ten and the SEC receiving more money is only going to expand that gap more and more. And of course, that didn't even count the college football playoff exposure of the hats and the t-shirts, and the more merchandise you're going to expand as well. That's not even counting that additional revenue that you're going to get for having a good year. How'd you stop this? You can't. I don't think you can. You're not going to at this point. The train's already on the tracks. Obviously, NILs are cause of this. TV contracts of the TV wanting the best deal and the best games. Case in point, with ESPN paying all that money for the new SEC contract over the CBS contract. And I think a lot of it too is the power of the two commissioners in the Big Ten and the SEC. The powers that they control, wanting to make TV execs, wanting to make them happy because they run the show and they run the ship. All a very big factor in this as well. And so it's not going to change, and it's only going to widen. And sadly, I don't think it's good. Yeah, I'm a SEC fan and support my team in the SEC, but I don't think it's that realm is good for college football. I like the dispersity and the styles and different conferences of one of your conference and different styles. And as they say, styles make fights. And that's always enjoyable when it comes to watching college football, big games, playoff games, the Final Four in the playoffs, the championship games. You want good games if you're a fan. And it's becoming more and more of a two-team conference. And then the other two of the Power Four now, I almost said five, Power Four now are hanging on and fighting. Now, I said this earlier, I was talking about this earlier and really interested and intrigued to see how this investment turned out when it comes to Peacock, of them investing in an NFL playoff game. And I wasn't sure on the results. The results hadn't come out yet on the money of what happened with the signup. So Peacock got 2.8 to 3 million people to sign up for the playoff wildcard game. By the end of February, 29% of those who signed up canceled. 71%, which is about around 2.1 million, remained subscribers, and their 1 month survival rate across all the signups was 78%. So I believe this is bad news for the consumers, because I think that incentivizes the NFL and these networks to do more and more one-offs for playoff games, for big games, and things of that nature. It's unfortunate for us, the consumer, which sucks. Now, I would say for Peacock, obviously, 71%, that's a great conversion rate. I mean, in any industry, 71%, if you're a sales manager, you're bringing in a 71% clip, I think they'd be pretty happy, don't you? So that is a testament to Peacock to take a chance and say, know what? We're going to see what happens with this. We're going to spend this money, see if we can make something happen for this. And like I said, I don't think it's a good thing for us as consumers. Now, I think another trial we saw was Paramount Plus. So Paramount Plus aired the Super Bowl, and they ran a promotion as well. They drew 3.4 million signups, but they also offer a free trial. So they received 68% of the signups with 2.3 million, and from the promotion 31%. Or that's numbers wise, that's around 1.1 million signups. 1.1 million signed up as paid subscribers. So 65% remained or were converted, were free, or did that free trial, were converted to paid services, as paid customers. Now, I can see the draw for Paramount. I don't have it, but they put out a lot of good content as basically every Taylor Sheridan show is on there now. If you don't know who Taylor Sheridan is, he's the creator and the writer for Yellowstone. All the Yellowstone spinoffs there on Paramount Plus. All his other story shows and content shows he's written look good. I haven't seen them, but the previews look good on a lot of his shows. Paramount Plus, they're there. A lot of good content on Paramount Plus. And I think for Paramount, this was a tester for them to see if they can convert people and see if they potentially want to get into the playoff bidding war for an NFL playoff game in the future. Now, if they keep the free trial, I'm fine with that. Cool. I can get their free trial, cancel it, and then I'm good to being able to watch whatever playoff game that is. If they cancel the free trial, once again, it's disappointment. But I think it was on Paramount Plus's part, smart of them. Keep the free trial. See if we can offer the Super Bowl. See if we can convert any promotional free subscription-based people after they see the options on their catalog. Now, Deion Sanders' recruiting style, interesting enough, has not made any in-home visits as a head coach at Colorado. Didn't at Jackson State either. That's a different ball game. I don't think he really had to do that. But now at Colorado, different story in my opinion. So for just in contrast, for Jim Harbaugh, he made 145 off-campus visits while at Michigan. Steve Sarkisian, 128 off-campus visits. Deion Sanders, 0. Now, some of his assistants make the off-campus visits at Colorado. So they do that. I mean, as a recruit, I would want to speak with the head coach to get a feel, to get a final understanding. As the head coach, I would want to go in and be the closer as well. Hey, here's why you should come to my program, XYZ. We can develop you. We can get you the NFL. And oh yeah, we can offer you the highest NIL. So I'm sure that's in the pitch now. Here's where I think it's a mistake for Deion. You have to set a foundation with these high school kids. Well, Locke, you say he doesn't recruit high school kids. Yes, some of that is true. Has recruited just eight high school kids in his 2024 class. The rest were transfers. That's a lot. Absolutely it is. But to me, the high school kids are still important for setting that foundation. Even if he doesn't sign a lot of these high school kids that he goes and recruits and visits, it sets that foundation. He makes a pitch for them. So when they enter the transfer portal, it's, oh yeah, I like Deion. I like Colorado. But I liked Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida State, Clemson better. 2 years later in the portal, you're looking around and you have that little bit of foundation with Deion Sanders. And another thing I've heard with talking about setting this foundation, I've been around some college basketball coaches from smaller schools, and they say they get kids a second time around. And I'm sure there's some similarities in that from the football stance as well of high school kids. They liked X school, but went somewhere else instead. So you get the kid, they can get kids a second time around. And nowadays, it's not just 2 and 3 stars entering the portal after 1 and 2 years. It's 4 and 5-star kids entering the portal after a year or 2. So that's another thing with the foundation. I think another reason why it's a mistake is I think his novelty is going to wear off. Yes, Deion's a Hall of Famer NFL coach. NFL player. Everyone knows that. But you got to remember these kids, how young they are. Deion hadn't played since 2005. His last year with Baltimore. He hadn't played since 2005. Everyone knows him as prime time from the 90s with Dallas. Kids don't remember that. You got to think about kids don't know how successful and good Tennessee was in the 90s. Half of them weren't born or remember or know that Tennessee won a national championship in 1998. Or reverse how bad Alabama was for the standpoint from the time period of between Stalling and Saban, how bad Alabama was. They weren't this premier program. Kids don't know that. And if they're not constantly reminded about that, then the novelty's not there. Yes, they're going to throw Colorado's going to throw NIL at people. So are other schools. I mean, every other school as well is going to throw NIL on them too. So it's not like they can jump the gun when it comes to NIL. And I feel like, and maybe this is still gone for bygones now with the change of the NIL and kids just trying to get theirs and take care of their family. But coaches always used to want to get into kids' homes, try to win over their parents and their mom for them to have a comfortable place to play for a few years. They know their son is going to be in good shape for 3 to 4 years there. But that's kind of moving, I think, to the wayside now with NIL becoming more prominent. And I think the other thing with his current recruiting plan is they've moved the signing day calendar for high school kids. I think he might have to recruit more high school kids because if he waits for the transfer portal, he won't have as many options since he'll be battling more schools for X players. It was with the transfer portal and the recruiting and the high school recruiting signing day, basically the exact same time. He opted in the portal, picked off all these guys from the portal, while other coaches and programs are focusing on both the high school and the portal. Okay, we missed a few high school kids. Let's plug in what we've got with the portal. Or, cool, we hit a high portal kid on our O-line or receiver. That's one less we need now for the high school ranks. So there's, I think, another issue he could run into. Of course, it's going to be a wait and see, as a lot of this usually is. But it's Deion. He always does stuff his own way. And he's always been successful in a lot of things he's done. We'll see if this is another one that works for him in Colorado. Now, I do love me some donuts. I'm a donut fan. And there's going to be an easier place to get Krispy Kreme donuts by the end of 2026. That is when they're going to be in all McDonald's across the country. There's going to be Krispy Kreme donuts in McDonald's. You heard me correctly. So they're going to be selling their original, their chocolate with sprinkles, or their chocolate icing with sprinkles, and their chocolate iced cream filled. So I'm guessing that's their Eclair Boston Creamer. What is it? Is it Eclair or Boston Creamer? I forgot. I forget the Krispy Kreme and the Dunkin' Donuts one. But anyway, that filled one of the three they're going to be selling at McDonald's. And I first read it, I was like, hey, that's cool. That'll be fun. And it opened up a different distribution stream for Krispy Kreme, a different revenue stream for McDonald's. Now, I would really like to see them do a Krispy Kreme McDonald's hamburger combination in the works right there. Now, that would be cool. Be creative. You know, you split that Krispy Kreme single donut. You throw that burger on there, that cheese, you know, something along those lines, and build a burger that way. Now you perk my interest to step into a McDonald's. But it's cool. It's fun. It worked. It's a great point and selling point for both of these franchises. And you know what? It's fun. Good for them. Who isn't excited and happy for them? As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You have a good week, and I'll talk to you next week.